So talking about these access keywords there, why would I said that you don't want to make your variables public when your class is public. You want to almost always make them private. There is another keyword called protected, which you can also use protected, but ideally you want them to be private or protected when at all possible, usually private. Now, why is that? Why not just public? Because right now, let's say I want to set Novo's name, which, well, I already named the instance Novo, but let's say I want to make it set his name. If I set this as public, I can go ahead and say Novo.name is equal to Novo. Great. Everything works perfectly fine. Everything is happy. I cannot set his age. Notice that if I do Novo dot, there is no age there because it is private. In fact, if I do age is equal to 1, and I hover over this, it's going to say cannot access private field age here. Now, I don't want to make this public because that's just bad design. Instead, everything should be private. So I like to use the analogy of look at an ATM. So if you have an ATM will, and let me go ahead and just create a public class ATM. And so we have an ATM, and that ATM will have a variable which will be the amount of money inside of there. Int current money. And notice that it automatically makes it private. I do not want anybody to be able to go up to the ATM and say, oh, you don't have $10,000 in there. You now only have $5. If it was public, anybody could go up there and say, this ATM only has $5. If it's private, on the other hand, people can go up to the ATM, they can use the ATM, and the ATM can dispense money, but whoever is using the ATM doesn't necessarily know how much money is inside of there unless they have authorization. So you could have something, and I'm going to just kind of sketch it out here, public and int, let's say, get current money. And so I can say, and I can go ahead and, as for example, string username. So I can say if username dot equals, and for instance, admin string comparison invariant culture case. So if it is equal to that, return current money. Otherwise, return negative some value or whatever. So you are not actually returning the current amount of money unless you are authorized. Now, obviously, don't write this code and expect it to be secure because, well, really, the person would only need to pass in admin to get how much money is in the ATM. But you get the idea of if this is public, anybody can get or set the value for that money, which is not always what you want to do. So if you make this private, then people are forced to go through this get current money method, and then they may not know what is actually required for this, but they're forced to get through there in order to get the current money for that ATM. So when developing classes, you should keep every variable or field as private or protected, because private means that only things inside of that class can access it. Anything outside of that class cannot access it. So if we wanted to set the name, there are ways we can do that from inside of the particular class. So keep everything as private, don't use public, and things will be happier.